Welcome to Make Your Mark podcast, where guests share their experiences, insights, and tactics to help you accelerate your business. So building, scaling, and monetizing your business is made easier. And I will be your host, Kay Suthar. Hello, I am super excited for this episode because today I'm going to go through with you some of the tips and tricks that I learned to really solidify your entire process when it comes to guesting on other people's podcasts. And there's going to be some little hints here where you'll be able to find out where the gaps are missing for you. And so once you are aware of where the gaps are missing, you'll be able to put together and fill those gaps following the exact same process that I did to get booked on 100 podcasts in 60 days. Now, one of the things that I'm going to really be highlighting here for you is how to stand out to the podcast hosts themselves, and then also how to build that relationship with them. Even though you've never met them, they've never met you, you've never had a conversation with them, you've never seen them in person, even though you've had no interaction with them in the past, following these steps is really going to start building that relationship with them before you even reach out to them, before you have that initial email sent to them or the message sent to them for them to actually have you on their podcast. Now, this is really important because this is where a lot of the guests fall short when it comes to building that relationship with the host, okay? And so I'm going to be taking it step by step and explaining what it is that you need to be doing. Okay, so first of all, before you have even reached out to them, right? Always go and listen to 2 or 3 of their episodes. Okay, take a listen to it throughout, or if it's a video, you can go ahead and watch it as well. And I want you to start taking notes of some of the key things that you've really learned from these episodes. Okay, once you've done that, I want you to go and leave the podcast a review, right? And it can be anywhere. It could be on iTunes, it can be on Spotify, whichever platform you actually listen to podcasts, go and leave a review. And the reason why I say this is because as podcaster myself, right, it is really, really hard to get reviews for your podcast, okay? And so the fact that you're going to leave a review for them is going to actually say so much about you, the kind of person you are, and you're going to actually make them curious, okay? I want you to leave a really good review for their podcast, and then you don't just leave it there. What I want you to do next is then reach out to them, but let them know, first of all, which episodes you've actually listened to, one takeaway that you've had, right, from each of those episodes. And then I want you to make sure that you take a screenshot of the review that you left and send it with that email, letting them know that you've not only listened to it, but you've left their podcast a review. By letting them know, right, that you've actually listened to a couple of their episodes and also written them a review, the hosts are going to see that you've actually gone out of your way to do this, because it's very rare that this actually happens, okay? So when you send that email, letting them know this, it's going to cause intrigue. They're going to be a lot more interested. And what could happen here is they may even reach back out to you, not only to say, yes, I would love to have you on my podcast, but also say, well, I would love to get on a conversation with you to learn a little bit more about what it is that you do. Okay, so this is where you've actually got your step in there, right? It's not just about getting booked on that podcast, it's actually building that relationship with them. And when the host actually reaches out and wants to know more about you, that is awesome, right? You absolutely want that. Now, when they do reach out to you and say they want to jump on a call with you, don't say no. Right? Do not say no, or you don't have the time, your schedule is busy, because the minute you do say no, what's going to happen? They're going to turn around and say, well, sorry, we cannot have you on our podcast, right? And that's not what you're looking for. We're looking for the yeses rather than the nos, right? And so you want to make sure that if they've given you the opportunity to get on a call with you, to connect with them, then go ahead and do that. Make the time, because in the long run, it's going to pay off. And so when you get on this call, make sure you go on this call just to serve, to give more value, right? To build that relationship, is not to sell, guys. Okay. You are not pitching to the podcast host on this call. Okay. And so I just want you to be aware of that. You're just getting to know each other. You're just connecting. You're learning about each other. And what you'll find as well is a lot of these podcasters aren't just podcasters, right? A lot of them are business owners. They hold events, they do workshops, they have masterclasses, they've got a network. And so really get to know what they're about, what their mission is, what it is that they're trying to hit, what kind of goals, right? And so once you start asking these questions and really getting to know them, you'll get a better idea as to, where this opportunity of actually getting on a call with them and possibly being on their show, where that's going to go next. Also, guys, do not be creepy on this call, okay? I have heard stories about people actually finding dates, right? And, they've gone on dates because they've been on someone else's show and that's kind of involved. That's not what this is about right now, guys, right? This is not a place for you to be going out there and thinking, I'm going to use podcasting as a process of me finding a date. No, right? So when you get on that conversation with them, ensure that you are professional and that you're just there to find out where you can have a win-win here, okay? And I want you to think long-term as well, right? In the business sense, right? How you can actually help each other out. Where are some of the challenges you're facing that they're facing that maybe you can actually help each other and push each other along in business, okay? And even if they have a challenge that you probably think, I'm not too sure how I can help them with, then there might be someone in your network that can help them with that particular challenge. And so if there is somebody in your network that you think that be able to help them a lot better, or can help them overcome this particular challenge that they're having, then make sure that you do an introduction, right? And put them in a group or in an email, whatever it may be, but make sure you do an introduction so they can actually see that you're not just all about yourself, that you are there to actually give value, to serve, to help others, and that you want a win-win situation. Because when you get on a call with them and they can see that you're there about giving value, then all of a sudden they're going to be thinking, oh my goodness, I need this person on my podcast, right? And they're going to be giving you that opportunity to come on their show. And so then when you finally do get yourself booked on the show and you're doing your talk, make sure again that you're giving value, that you're entertaining, that you're also hitting all those different emotions. Now, I did go through all of that in a previous episode, right, on how to do storytelling. And so once you do all of that, then it doesn't come to an end. Okay, you're doing this to bring value, but also to continue building that relationship with the host. And so once the recording is done, don't just disappear and that's it, is all done. Okay, there's certain things that you want to do after the recording as well. Now, a lot of people actually miss this opportunity because they think that, they're just going on, they're going to record my episode, they're going to promote it, I'm going to be everywhere, and that's it. No, people that think that way, guys, you're just being selfish. You're just making it all about you. No. I want you to continue building that relationship with the host because, again, you never know where the further opportunities lie just by getting to know them. A lot of the podcasters will then have another conversation with you to see how it went, right? Take that opportunity on. And in fact, there's certain questions that I would want you to ask that's then going to help building that relationship even further, okay? And so first of all, what you do is you want to ask them for feedback. Like, how did you think my talk went? Was it okay? Was the episode okay? Because you'd be surprised that a lot of people, when they go onto these podcasts, don't actually ask the podcaster for any feedback. They don't ask them how they felt about it. Okay, and the minute you do, because you're going to be showing that you're all about giving value, right? That you're putting them first. You're putting the host and the audience first and not yourself. And so first of all, they're going to feel shocked that you even asked that question because not many people do. And so allow them to give you some feedback. A lot of the times, just to be aware that they will say that they absolutely loved you. Okay, there's not many times where you'll find they actually criticize about you unless you go and probe and ask even further and ask them, how do you think I could make this better? And if you ask them the question, make sure that you just take the information on board, okay? Because a lot of the times the perspective that we have about us is completely different as to how others think of us, right? And it's so important that we actually get feedback from other people, because we don't always see, right, what's going on with us or how we are saying things or behaving. And so when other people spot this, you want to take on the feedback, okay? But most of the time they're going to say that they absolutely loved you. And the minute they say that, that's when you can go in and ask them the second question and say, hey, do you know any other podcasters that you feel I would be a good fit? Right? And most of the time they say, oh, I think so. Or it'll be, well, I'm going to actually take a look and see if there is anybody else. But remember this, guys, all podcasters know other podcasters. Okay, so if you are looking to get on more podcasts, stop working so hard and looking for those podcasters yourself. Once you get on the podcast, ask the host themselves. Ask them, do you know anybody else? And get them to do a few introductions, some referrals to other podcasts that you can be speaking on that have your ideal client. This is how you start working smarter, not harder. And then what you want to do is every time you go on a show, and it's going to be so much easier to actually get booked on the podcasts that have been referred to you, where they've done the introduction, because someone that they already know has actually considered you as being a really good guest. And so it's going to make it a lot easier. And every time you go onto a show, you ask the same questions, right? And get some more referrals, get some more feedback. This is how you're going to get better as a guest with your pitch, your talk, your storytelling, is by getting feedback from other people, right? And why not just ask the host? Another pro tip here. A lot of the times when guests go on podcasts, they feel like they're talking to the audience, right? To the podcast audience. Now, you are going to be talking to them as well, but remember that you've got the host right there in front of you. And in fact, it's the host that is going to be your warmest lead. The audience that you're going to be speaking to, they're secondary. They're the people that you're speaking to that's going to come round to being able to know, like, and trust you in the long term, okay? They're your really cold leads that are just getting to know you. And so you want to make all the effort and build that relationship with the warmest lead that you've got right there in front of you, because you never know what other opportunities are going to be coming about. Through my experience, I have been able to build these relationships and have them as affiliate partners, done some collaborations. Not all the time will you find that they will turn into instant clients, and that's not always what you're looking for. And so I really want you to think about, when you go onto these podcasts, what kind of outcomes are you actually looking for? Apart from having yourself promoted, what other things are you actually looking for in your business? Are you looking for collaborators? Are you looking for partnerships? So what do they look like? Because when you actually start talking with a host, again, they might be the best fit for being a partner, a collaborator, a JV, a referral partner. And in fact, I always say they should turn into one of those things at least, okay? Even if they're not the right fit to be a client for you. And so then when you get booked on other podcasts through referrals, I want you to follow that same pattern again, right? Just because you now have been referred to them, it doesn't mean that you're going to stop listening to 2 or 3 of their episodes and you're going to stop sending them reviews. I want you to continue doing that, because again, even though someone's referred you, you still need to build that relationship with them for yourself, okay? The other podcaster that has already built that relationship with them. And so you want to make sure you do that same process every time that you're going to speak on a podcast. And then again, at the end, make sure you have them time to actually speak with them and ask them again for feedback and ask them for referrals. So you can see what's happening here, right? You're going to be booked on so much more podcasts through referrals that these podcasters are actually giving you, because you have been that person that's been giving value right from the get-go and made it about them and not about yourself. I personally have built so many great relationships with so many different podcast hosts out there, and I still keep in contact with so many of them as well. And so when anything comes up, launches or do a workshop or masterclass, I always reach out to them and see if they can actually help, if they can collaborate, if they can actually spread the news to their network. And so all these little things do come together, but it's about actually making the time to build those relationships, because again, we're looking at your business, your podcast for the long run. And so before we actually finish this episode, I just want to make sure I just recap everything. So the first thing you want to do is identify which podcast you want to be on. Once you've done that, listen to 2 or 3 of the episodes and make sure you write down a couple of key points for each of the episodes that you've actually listened to. And then send the podcast host a review. Take a screenshot of it and actually then do the outreach. Send them a message, an email, and let them know that you've left them a review. And in this outreach, let them know which episodes that you've listened to with a key point of what you've learned from that particular episode, as well as attaching a screenshot of the review that you've left them as well. And remember, once you finish the recording, don't leave it at that. You always want to continue building that relationship with them and finding out what it is that they're looking for. What are some of their challenges? Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much. And I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.